We're exploring the links between political polarization and declining trust in the news media. That's what's happening here in the States. And to talk about it, Scott Baradell is with us. He's the author of Trust Signals, Brand Building in a Post-Truth World. Scott, appreciate you coming on DFW's Morning News.
Thanks for having me.
So exploring the links between polarization and declining trust. Just how quickly is the trust declining with the media and Americans? And who are we talking about when we say media?
Well, increasingly we're talking about social media in terms of where people get their news. And it used to be, obviously, people get a newspaper thrown on their doorstep. But just since 2006 to today, the revenues that newspapers receive has gone from $50 million down to $10 million. That's what's happened. It's basically the whole business of this kind of these publications and these outlets that put themselves forward as objective news or news that everyone could read has gone away. And so now we're all in our rabbit holes.
And what's interesting, as you mentioned, is the way people are getting their news. I know the Harris campaign, they had said in recent months wanting to utilize TikTok a lot to try to get their campaign message out. Talk about the ways that it's changing. And TikTok, I know for some of us older people, it doesn't sound like the most reliable source, but that might not be the case for some of the younger voters.
Well, you're absolutely right that it's not a reliable source, but it's also true that it's one of the top used sources, if not the top, in terms of particularly younger people getting their news. Also podcasts. I mean, look, there's a reason why Donald Trump was on Theo Von's podcast the other day. So a lot of people might have looked at that and said, well, what's he doing on this comedian's podcast? But it's because it has a huge audience. Same thing with Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy podcast. These aren't news, but kind of like with Joe Rogan, they talk about what's going on in the news, and they're seen as news, or they're taken in as news. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so what has led to all of this polarization? That's what I'm asking myself. And of course, social media, just the internet and all of the advances there is one part of that answer. But I saw this statistic. In 2006, U.S. newspapers took in $49 billion in advertising revenues. By 2022, that amount had fallen to less than $10 billion. So that's newspapers almost just being replaced entirely, it seems like. That means more access for a lot of people. It's in their mind. That means more advertisers can just pop up in your Facebook feed. How much is advertising contributing to this?
It has. And there was this long period of, obviously, traditional media, TV, newspapers have been in decline for a long time. But you had, for a while, Facebook and Google were propping them up because people would go to Google and Facebook, Google News and so forth, to get their news. And so Google News and Facebook cut deals where they gave a portion of the ad revenues. You could argue the media deserved all the ad revenues because they were creating the content, but everyone was going through Google and Facebook, so they controlled the ad dollars. Now people are going through AI, they're going through social media. Even that limited amount of advertising revenue is kind of drying up for traditional media. So it just continues to get worse and worse. It's a vicious cycle.
And are we seeing that advertisers maybe have a say in the message that some of these media outlets can put out there?
Well, advertisers absolutely have a say. That's kind of always been kind of a little dirty secret, even in traditional media, that a big advertiser for a newspaper, it's less likely you're going to see a big investigative story about that advertiser. But I think more than that, it's just clicks. It's the fact that more money is made by media outlets online, or any outlet online that is getting more traffic and controversy and saying what your audience wants to hear, which is often different from objective truth, is what makes money.
Yeah, that's the reality we live in. Ahead of November, Scott Baradell, author of Trust Signals, Brand Building in a Post-Truth World. We appreciate you coming on DFW's Morning News.
Thank you.